Welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. So as you can see, I'm a little dressed up today because I have some Norse mythology themed stuff to talk about today, including the review of a new film that just came out this week, last week, The Northman. Before we get to this, I have some mail to go through and some other things. So let's get right to it. I dressed up in this costume as a Valkyrie because I just love this mythology. I've done I think it was a long time ago when I first started my channel. I did a video about my favorite children's book when I was a kid, Norse Gods and Giants, which I'm going to talk about a little bit today, and a couple other things. But so I was really excited to see the movie. I loved it. I'm going to timestamp, so if you want to skip ahead to the review, if you're new to my channel, you might want to just skip ahead. So I thought I would go over some mail. You know, I love it when I get mail. I actually started opening this because it was from, airmail. It has the royal seal, so that's impressive. Maybe it's straight from Buckingham Palace. You never know. I love, it's a Mina bookmark. Wow. This must be from the publisher. That is a Mina bookmark. I am going to read this book. It's on the top of my list. Oh, nice. I don't want to mess this up because it has, Batilda would love this. It has a bat seal. I need a letter opener desperately. Let's see if I can do this just with my nails. If anyone would like to send me a letter opener as a gift, just saying, just a suggestion. Okay, I messed it up. I tried to be cute. I love getting things in the mail. Oh, look at this. From Amy McCaw to Regina. I'm a huge fan of your channel. Thank you, dear. Thank you for your interest in Mina and the Undead. I really hope you enjoyed the book. Oh, Mina and the Undead. It's the full name of the title. I might have gotten that wrong. Oh, I love this bookmark. Here's the actual book that I was sent, and I'm moving it to the top of my indie pile. I have a book I just finished, and then I'm going straight into this. So I'll do a review soon. And here's a nice, cool, a postcard from Mina. I love this promotional material. I'm getting some ideas for my next book. This is a great idea. Hey sis, I know things have been pretty weird between us lately, and I want to make it up to you. Check out the flyer and let me know what you think. Could be fun. Love, Libs, New Orleans. Oh, the Fang Fest. Okay, this is all very cool. It's all part of the story. Wow, what a neat idea, and I love it. Thank you, Amy, so much. I know Amy has a channel, and I'm going to link it below. I have not had time to watch any BookTube videos or AuthorTube videos. I feel horrible. I need to catch up. What happens is I have a lot of time off, usually when I'm writing or recording videos or just reading, and then when I work, it's like really intense. So for the last couple of weeks, we have a new show opening at the theater. It's just been a lot of work. So this is, again, Mina and the Undead by Amy McCaw, and it looks really cool. Thank you, Amy. That's lovely, and to ship that all the way to me is wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, this is a letter from, oh gosh, I destroyed this envelope. This is from the Analog Horror Club from my friend James, and he has a wonderful TikTok channel that's blowing up. And what the heck did I do with my glasses? I am one of his patrons, and as a special treat, I get a letter each month with a seal. I love that. And a short story. Again, I'm terrible at opening this. This is awful. I also have a Patreon. And I want to thank lovely Merce from Harpies in the Trees for becoming a patron this week. And one of my options is a pen pal club, because I do love to write letters and receive them. Oh my gosh, this is really folded up. Okay, here we go. You can see I put a big hole in it. Dear horror fiends, I hope this letter finds you well. I myself am doing fine. This story is based on a time when I was not doing so well. I was unemployed, unable to pay rent, and in a really bad place in life. My first marriage had ended, and I had a son who was only 1 year old. It was so bad I had to sell my American-made Fender Telecaster guitar to pay rent, which I know is terrible because my friend James is a musician, so that's quite a sacrifice. Striga, is it Striga or Striga, is a female demon, not much different than a vampire. I can't really read this because it's like the seal's over it, but anyway, it's a short story called Striga or Striga, and I'm going to read that. I'm not going to read it all here on my channel because it's not that it's long, but you know, it's a short story. I will read it later, but you should definitely check out, put it here. You should definitely check out James's stuff. He's very creative. He's an old friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time. We've worked on stuff together. And we also went to the movies recently and watched, what was it? I can't even remember. X. So that seemed like weeks ago. I guess it was. I've just been in a whirlwind. I'm trying to get my next book out. And I don't think I'm going to make the April release. But, you know, I also don't want to rush it because I'm trying to keep up a pretty tight schedule with the writing so I can cut myself a little break. Next week, I am going away for my annual writing retreat in my little haunted cabin. So if you want to follow my adventures there, definitely follow me on Instagram. That's probably where I'll post most of my stuff on there. And I plan to do some writing there or maybe just some reading. I always look forward to my cabin retreats. Okay, what else? All right, so I've been trying to read some indie fiction that people have sent me. I did read The Idola Project by Robert Harold. So I finished this. I thought it was, pretty good. I gave it 3.5 stars, I think. And I'm going to put a whole review together, probably a combo review for all of these indie books that I'm reading. So I wanted to thank Robert for sending me this book. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to it, but I really did enjoy it. It's all about like paranormal, like a paranormal team, but it's set in the like post-Civil War America era. So I really like the historical aspect of the book. This is another one I'm going to look at next. Another book, and I felt really bad because I found the note inside, and this was sent like last year. So I'm sorry, David. This is from David Scott, 14 Tales. Sorry it's taken me so long to get to all of these books, but it's on my indie stack along with Mina and the Undead, and I will get to it. I'm also going to read one more book someone sent me, which I've been looking all over the place for. It's got to be here somewhere. And I'm doing like a whole new rearranging of my books this spring. I usually do like a once a year cleanup. So I'm sure I will find it. Oh, and what else? Half-a-ween-a-thon. It's half-a-ween-a-thon times, guys. Already halfway between Halloween. I do this readathon every year. Batilda and I always get involved. And it's with the lovely Spine Breakers. I will list their channel below, their video. I'll list it below. And the hashtag is Half-a-Ween-a-thon 2022. And the dates are May 1st to May 7th. So only a week. I am actually going to be combining this with the Horror Mayhem Challenge, which is coming up because it's almost May. I think it will be May by the time I post this video. I have my TBR ready to go. I'm very excited to get involved with that read along, but I don't want to stress myself out trying to read a bunch of books. So I'm just going to be laid back with it. And Megan and Sue over at the Spine Breakers are very laid back about it too, which is wonderful. So here are the challenges, and I will list their announcement video below. Number 1, read a horror book and then watch the movie adaptation. There may be a horror mayhem. That might be one of the challenges. There might be a combination. I can't remember off the top of my head. Number 2, read a horror graphic novel. I'm definitely going to try to do that because I do have some horror graphic novels in my collection that I have not read yet. And a graphic novel, doesn't take a long time to read it usually. So I think I will do that, and I love them. Number 3, read a book with dark or night in the title. All right, well, I think I had this covered. And number 4, read a book set in a haunted house. And 5, read a creature feature. I think one of the Horror Mayhem books is a creature feature, or like a cryptid creature or something, so that's covered. But for read a book with dark or night and a haunted house, I'm finally going to read 12 Nights at Rotterhouse by J.W. Ocker. I hate when I mispronounce someone's name. I've had this book on my shelf for over a year. I know a lot of people have reviewed it, and I might just bring this one to the cabin with me because I will be staying, not that it's haunted, but in a cabin that could be haunted. So I'm going to read this. Oh, and of course, as a bonus, dress up as a character from a horror book, post your TBR on social media with the hashtag. I'm sure Batilda will be down for that. Okay, so now moving on to the main event, I guess, and that is a review of The Northman. It's a new film that came out just last week, directed by Robert Eggers, who also did The Witch and The Lighthouse. I saw The Witch. I thought that was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I have not seen The Lighthouse yet, and it's one of those movies that's been on my list for a while. I will get to it, especially after seeing this, because I really enjoyed it. When I went to see X with James a few weeks ago, a month ago, they had a trailer for The Northman, and I remember thinking, I have to see this movie in the theater. So my husband and I went a couple days ago, and we both really loved it. And it was another one of those experiences, sitting in the movie theater completely by ourselves on a, I guess it was like a Wednesday afternoon, and really enjoyed seeing this movie on the big screen because of the visuals are so powerful. The sound is amazing. The music score, really haunting, really good. It was a very immersive experience. The Northman is a Viking film that takes place in the late 9th century, and it has a very gritty realism to it, but also a lot of mysticism to it, which is one thing I really enjoyed about it. It was it really incorporates a lot of the Norse mythology that I love. If you haven't watched the trailer and you just want to go in cold, don't listen to this discussion or watch any reviews, because it's really hard to discuss the film without giving away just the basic plot. So tune out now and I'll see you later. But it starts with a boy named Amleth, who's about maybe 12 or 13. I really loved this young actor, and I almost wished he had more screenplay because he was great. Very sincere and very sweet. His father returns from, marauding with a bunch of spoils, and Nicole Kidman, who's very good in this film, plays his mother. And within just a very short time, the father is murdered by his brother, and the mother is kind of taken, like in a rape scene, basically, from their castle, if you want to call it that. It's a very rough kind of castle. And they're home, and the son witnesses this horrible thing. The brother's men, his soldiers, are marauding and pillaging and raping and destroying everything that belongs to his brother and taking it. And the son, who witnesses his father's murder, is now, the brother wants the son to be killed. Like, give me that kid's head, because he knows that, he doesn't want this child. He might come back and avenge him, which is what he does. So the boy escapes, and then we go 20 years later, and you see Amleth now all grown up, and boy, did he get big. And that role's played by Alexander Skarsgård, who, he's so handsome and so buff in this movie. I remember when he played the male model in Zoolander. I think that might have been one of his first roles. It's kind of funny to think about that, but I've always loved him in everything I've ever seen him in. And this is a really big role for him, and I think he does a wonderful job. He also co-produced this film, so this is a passion project. I think the trailer may be a little deceptive, but the trailer's fabulous. But it may be a little deceptive in showing that Amleth is just on this revenge mission, and he's kicking ass until he gets his revenge. It's not quite like that. And if you know Hamlet, Hamlet is, I think in the Laurence Olivier film version, the subtitle is Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, a man who could not make up his mind because he really spends the entire play kind of stalling killing his uncle. He knows that he wants to do this, but in the play, he's, having long soliloquies and monologues to be or not to be, questioning himself about the nature of his vengeance. So this film kind of does that too. And I really like how they weave in the mythology and the mysticism. Bjork plays a small role, and it's a little, if I hadn't have known that she was in it, I wouldn't really have recognized her, because her face is very obscured and she has these like weird like shells over her eyes. She plays this like mystic who advises him on his fate. In other words, you can't, in this world, he has this fate to follow through with his vengeance, whether he really wants to or not. And there's this really heartbreaking moment in the film where he meets a woman who's also enslaved with him. When he and his Viking clan, he becomes part of this clan of marauders. They attack this village, and people who are not killed are then enslaved. There's this really horrible scene, I have to say, in that where they take a little boy and throw him into a hut and set it on fire. I found that to be really disturbing. Probably the most disturbing part in the film for me. But it was important because it kind of reminded him of himself as a child. So they enslaved the people they don't kill, and Amleth disguises himself as a slave because he hears that his uncle is now in this part of Iceland. And so they travel there, and now he's going to take his vengeance. So a lot of the film is just him trying to kind of position himself where he can now do this. So before he can do his act of vengeance, he has to go through some different tests. He falls in love with one of the slave women, and she was also in The Witch. Her name is Anya Taylor-Joy. She's very good in this. I thought her character was great. So he goes to avenge his uncle. There's this very cool scene where he goes into a burial mound to retrieve this magic sword that he needs. So there is a magic sword in it. It's really good, and it maintains, what I like about this film is it maintains its realism while getting into these mystical elements and supernatural elements. There's one scene that's really devastating with Nicole Kidman, and I think her acting in this scene is excellent. Even though the female characters in this movie are more traditional, they're not weak characters at all. In fact, both of these female characters are able to bring this, macho man, Amleth, to his knees, like quite literally, and it's wonderful to see. So, overall, I really loved this movie. I highly recommend it, but if you're expecting like a popcorn movie or like a comic movie, you will be really disappointed. I just have to say that, and I think that's maybe where the 1-star reviews come from. I don't watch like Marvel comic movies or any comic movies like Thor, even though, that stuff is based on Norse mythology, which I love. I just don't like those kinds of movies. Once in a while, I'll watch something like that. But usually I'm just not into it. So if you go into this movie thinking it's going to be something like that, you will be greatly disappointed. And I'm fascinated with how this film has divided audiences because, and I've been reading the 1-star reviews too, kind of getting where they're coming from, and the 5-star reviews. I mean, a lot of people who think it's a masterpiece or like absolute trash. So there you go. I loved the Valkyrie in The Northman. She's only in it for just a little bit, but she really inspired my costume. It was amazing. I wanted to see more. I think that's the type of movie that when it comes out on digital, I will probably buy a copy or watch it again, watch it many times. I just really, really loved it. It's kind of on the level of a movie that I saw recently, unfortunately not in the theater, but I also really loved, was The Last Duel. And I found a copy of the book, a little messed up down in that corner, at a thrift store recently. So I'm going to be reading this. I think this is a nonfiction book that it is based on. So I just loved it. I loved The Northman. It made me pull out my old favorite children's book, Norse Gods and Giants, with incredible illustrations. And here we go. Just really, whoops, I'm dropping things. Really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. If you don't know this book, this is a vintage copy, but I think they still sell paperback copies. If you have kids, get this book. They also have the same people, the Dolairs, also did an illustrated version of Greek mythology that is really wonderful. This came out in the 60s. So after watching The Northman, I finally finished Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology because I thought, why not? I got inspired. I sat down and read this book in a couple days. I had started it years ago when I bought it, but I just never finished it. This came out in 2017 by Northman Company. There's a nice cover. That's a Mjolnir. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Thor's hammer. It's a very important part of Norse mythology. I think why I love Norse mythology so much is because of Loki. He's like the best character in mythology of all times. Now, I know he features in these comic, I think it's Marvel universe. I probably should sit down and watch those. I'm sure I would actually really like them. So this book is not that long. It pretty much just covers the basics. In fact, as I was reading this was on my night table, and they basically follow the same exact myths in the same order, only this one is illustrated. You don't have to be a kid to enjoy an illustrated book, just saying. But this is a good basic reference for Norse mythology. The stories are all here. They're very funny. And that's the thing about these stories. They're pretty hilarious, especially when Loki and Thor get together for some of their adventures. It's really, really fun stuff. So let me know if you've seen The Northman or if you plan to see it or what you thought. Maybe you were one of those people who thought it was absolute garbage, or maybe you loved it, or maybe you were actually somewhere in between. I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon.